Hello, everybody. It's Pastor Dave Deckard here with your Thursday thoughts when we wave goodbye to the gospel of the week past and anticipate the one to come. Now, last Sunday was Easter, kind of a big deal. And if you hung around here enough, you would have figured out that we actually preached on two different gospels for Easter. If you saw our video service, we were talking about John chapter 20. If you were here in person at Shepherd of the Valley on Easter Sunday morning, you heard us talk about Mark chapter 16. And those are two very, very different stories. John chapter 20 has all the divine grandeur and the glory, angels speaking, shrouds and all kinds of stuff, and news spreading everywhere. Mark chapter 16 is actually much quieter. The ending doesn't happen the way we expect. Instead, that story of Easter ends with them seeing the tomb and being terrified, and nothing happens after except they were afraid. Now, we have a natural preference for the John story instead of the Mark story because we like happy endings and not scared endings. That said, I think it's appropriate that both of them exist because it's a funny thing about being human. What fulfills your every wish and changes the world the way you want it will also terrify you. Ever walked down the aisle? Ever seen a bride and groom walk down the aisle going, I have no nerves at all? Ever had a child, for instance? Anyone ever gone, oh yeah, this is easy, I've got this all down? Ever gone to a new job? Ever gone to a new school? Whatever it is that progresses your life, even if it's in a good way. Whatever it is that transforms you, even if it's into what you were meant to be, will also scare the bejeebers out of you. That's what it means to be human. But we must not let that fear keep us away from the goodness. We must not let our panic at the world changing keep us away from our mission in it. The more we try to secure ourselves against that fear, the more we lock the goodness out. And in this case, that just won't do because that goodness is resurrection and eternal life. And if we lock ourselves in against it, we lock ourselves in with death and nothingness. And nobody wants that. So we have no choice but to lift up our eyes, to look out to the horizon, to see what God is doing, to understand it's amazing and it's wonderful. And yes, it's also scary, but it's better to be scared and experience truth and life the way they were meant to be than it is to feel secure and miss the meaning of being here. So, nobody's asking for you to feel incredibly comfortable with faith at all times. Nobody's asking you to never be afraid. We're all going to be uncomfortable and afraid at some point. At the same time, that discomfort and fear should not be the central compass that we use to interpret whether or not we're being faithful. Instead, that discomfort and fear should be a reminder to us that sometimes God's actions and God's intentions are bigger than we can interpret. And that's going to make us scared, but that's also okay. Because beyond that fear, in the next step of the journey is not emptiness or loss, but life and love. Think about that as you go through your week. And next week, next Sunday, we're going to talk about John chapter 20 again, the latter part of it, where we hear a disciple called Thomas and the struggle that he was having to interpret all of this. Until then, God bless and share God's love with each other.